Are you guys okay that we didn't have food catered in? Because some guests
I don't want to talk about it for 20 minutes like Barrett does every time.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
And welcome to the Politics Unplugged podcast. This week it's going to look a lot like the Politics Unplugged TV show. Why is that? Because Marcus Dell'Artino and Tony Cani has decided to be stand-up gentlemen and just come up here and
We didn't
talk
even take
more
off our jackets.
more in depth. And you guys didn't take off your jackets. You're dressed up. It's the best dress pod I think we've had since we started.
Ooh, that's quite a compliment.
Yeah,
wow,
at least
thanks.
I changed my jacket.
I'll take it.
It always gets a little cold up here, so I had to get this.
Baby. Suck it up, Buttercup.
So this week, I wanted to get more in depth on some of the politics we saw this week, particularly the primaries. I know, Marcus was sad to see Dan Crenshaw lose his congressional seat in Texas.
He got smoked.
He did. He got smoked.
Also, the only candidate that was not Trump endorsed. I should point that out.
Yeah, well, didn't he support Trump but broke with him occasionally, which is enough to be a rhino.
Right.
And he built up enough of a profile that
Yeah.
it meant something if he broke with the president in a way that I think some backbencher Republican could kind of get away with, right?
Yeah.
Like that's part of the problem because he became a very, very high profile figure in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but it's not a great time to be an incumbent. I mean, people are real grumpy at incumbents, like in general.
It just kind of reminds me of that "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Remember where the governor's son is like, "Why don't we get some of that reform, Daddy?" It's like, we can't.
Yeah.
We can't run as a reformer. We're the incumbent.
Yeah, I think that was a big takeaway I had from this. It's like, and looking at some of the other states too.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Texas. I mean, what can we extrapolate? Because that's what we do in politics, right? We overthink things. We extrapolate too much. We saw some primaries there. One of the big takeaways from that primary is more Democrats, I believe, cast ballots in that election than Republicans did.
Which is very abnormal. I went and I ran the numbers to compare it to like the last time, that there was something similar. These were higher I think the Senate primary was very high profile, which is part of the reason why that happened. So I don't want to put, too much on it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this was way more people voting than they expected. And voting's a habit, and somebody votes in a primary, and they're more likely to vote in a general. So, you got to feel good about it. But I'm not one of these like election analysts who will look at the comparative numbers in a primary and draw any real meaningful conclusion about it, other than the fact that like, hey, that's great. Enthusiasm is up. I think that's a big, it's an indicator of enthusiasm. Whether or not it's enough to win the Senate race in Texas,
Well, that's why we brought Marcus on, because we want him to extrapolate and tell us what this means for the general election.
No, I mean, Tony's to some extent correct. I mean, there's a lifetime before the general election happens. So, you could have the greatest voter enthusiasm in the world and fall flat the next day within 24 hours in the world that we live in now. What is a little bit challenging for Republicans is that we did not top 50% in our Republican primary in that Senate race.
So you're talking about the Senate race again. Let's set the table on that. You've got Ken Paxton, the former Attorney General from Texas, was impeached, I believe.
Yeah, he was impeached, though he was. I think the Senate did not convict him of those impeachments.
He was impeached, and then you've got Cornyn,
right?
Senator Cornyn, the incumbent, and so nobody went over 50%. So they are going into a runoff. On the Democrat side, you had Crockett, Jasmine Crockett, she's a congresswoman today in Tellurico, who has gotten a lot of attention.
Yeah, and he's
that dude is unavoidable for comment.
Well,
he's kind of like the Mamdani of this part of the cycle right now. It's like all of a sudden he went from like kind of unknown nationally or whatever to he's everywhere, and a lot of that had to do with CBS's decision that Stephen Colbert could not have him on his show to interview him.
Well, I think that's part of it, but he is one of these elected officials that got big on TikTok.
Okay. Again, like Mamdani. Yeah,
for the
right?
past few years, right?
Yeah.
And the reason he got big on TikTok was just in a way that it's very difficult to do. Like, I wouldn't urge others to try this, but just his testimony, his speeches in the legislature, where he was sort of, calling out the hypocrisy of his colleagues on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And so he built up this big following. There's another sort of equivalent to this, which is in North Carolina. The current Attorney General, Jeff Jackson, is another guy that sort of built up this like big following on TikTok that he was able to turn into something bigger. And so I think he had a little bit of that momentum, which helped with some of these other things and getting the attention, which is it's super interesting. But in that race, you hear people extrapolating a lot about what it means that he won versus she won, and in my perspective, almost all of it is just people confirming whatever their previous prior was. Like, it doesn't seem like there's anything actually all that meaningful that's coming out of this sort of distinction.
Well, let me say this though too. When you make the comparison to Mamdani, I'm just talking about like rise in popularity, right?
Not issues,
for sure.
Because he is very different.
Yeah,
politically.
I was like, don't put him in the same boat.
Yeah, because I was going to ask Marcus. I mean, is he a guy that can make a Republican voter in Texas comfortable to cross the aisle and park their vote with him if they're not happy with the eventual whoever gets to the general election? Gets to the general election.
I'm not shy about saying this. That guy is smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, super smooth. Mm-hmm. And so, to your point, that he is going to get some, now very little, but some Republican attention. There is
particularly
no
if Paxson wins, right? If Paxson is in the general election, he's more toxic.
That's the conventional thought. And remember, look, we got to go through a runoff election. That takes money, and that's money that's not going into the general election. So that's a problem for Republicans. But this is going to be probably one of the most high-profile Senate races in the country. Mm-hmm. If not, I should say probably the most. Mm-hmm. Because if a Democrat picks up Texas, holy cow, Katie barred the door. But I say that, of course, as we've got
we have one there
two Democrats in the U.S. Senate in Arizona.
Right,
too.
that's a good
point. But it would definitely be a big deal. But you got to watch the independents, party not declared. How much does he draft off Republicans, and then what is Democrat turnout? I don't,
we don't
we're
know.
Gonna have to see what the energy level looks
but
like.
That's why I brought up the number of ballots cast, because more Democrats cast ballots in Texas than Republicans with that election cycle with the Senate race. That does show there's a lot of enthusiasm.
Even when there's been some pretty high profile Democrats running, like Beto, in the race, like he didn't get that type of a bump. And I think part of it is just the state of politics in the country right now, with Democratic enthusiasm being high. And, another element of this that's interesting is just a lot of those border communities that were moving, that were heavily Latino, that were moving towards Trump. They had very high turnout on the Democratic side. And so in Texas, you just show up at the poll, whatever party you are, you have to pick a ballot and then you vote. So you don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. And so, I don't know, what type of people were voting in those areas, but the numbers were really high in those areas. And I think that is indicative of this belief, if we go real deep in Texas, that a lot of the redistricting stuff that they did was under the assumption that the gains with Latino voters that they got in Trump were permanent, or that they were going to grow. And so I've never thought that was necessarily the case. I think that was a unique, election. I think they're a persuasion group. You can't count on them to be in one side or the other, as a demographic. And so this has to be, in that regard, a real scary thing for them, because they may have, this could really hurt. In order to change those districts, they had to make some of these safer districts less safe. And so that might have more of a long-term ramification than anything.
I would tell you also that those Latino voters tend to be Catholic, and I think that there's a thought out there that evangelicals and Catholics are monolithic voting blocks that just all vote Republican automatically. Mm-hmm. And to put this in context, the reason I bring it up is because Taliki is a former preacher's kid, and he uses that knowledge of the Bible to justify his points. And I think that it'll be a challenge for Republicans to be able to hold that base and steady, not allow a 5% draft off of evans and Catholics going into that election, or 10%, whatever it very well may be, because he's a good communicator.
I mean, his wife is an elected official his ex-wife who divorced him after like the second affair, and it was like extremely public, right? Like she, put out a statement saying, "I'm leaving my husband on biblical grounds," and like, it was a very big thing. And so like, like Ken Paxton, but the really interesting wrinkle here is that Trump came out and was like, "Hey guys, knock it off. I'm going to endorse somebody. The other one's got to drop out." And
and he came out and endorsed Cornyn, the incumbent, which, I mean, everybody is seen as a sign that Republicans and Trump himself is a little worried about Paxton winning this.
100%. And then Paxton did a very savvy thing where he responded by saying, "If the Senate gets rid of the filibuster, I will drop out," to put pressure on Thune and Cornyn to make the filibuster a more central part of this primary. When, as I said on this table a long time ago, like, Republicans get rid of the filibuster, I'm surprised it's lasted this long.
If the filibuster becomes one of the deciding issues in that primary, do they fly in Kirsten Sinema to campaign?
I think she would fly herself in. I think she has some campaign funds left over that she could use.
I'm doubtful. How about that? I'm doubtful.
She loved herself some filibuster, man. So is Texas in play, or is this fool's gold again for Democrats?
I think things are rough for Republicans. It is possible, but I would not put Texas on my chart to if I'm charting my way to a majority. It would be a bonus. It would be a bonus. Like, and so when
it's
comes
possible, not probable.
Right. It's the value you get is if the Republicans have to spend money in Texas.
Yeah. Well, let's see how the runoff goes. I mean, if these guys beat the tar out of each other, that has a net effect on what the outcome will be in November.
And depends on the winner too. Is if it's Paxton, I think Democrats will be
candidate quality
more
matters, right? And that he's not a good candidate when it comes to sort of like the mechanics of running for office outside of sort of like this MAGA.
But you're going to see a
unit.
Just ton of polls come out here in the next few
you're
weeks
right.
that it's so that they can continue the dialogue of who's winnable.
Yeah, and then you're going to see Democrats like Tony like giving money to Paxton's campaign. Like, hey, come on, can you pull it out, buddy? Just pull this one out, buddy. Come on, Kenny.
Yeah, let's go, man.
Can you feel the momentum, Ken Paxton?
Well, there's a strategy that's been employed, for over a decade, where a liberal Democratic organization or a very conservative can play in the other primary by doing an ad attacking the Republican, is saying he's too conservative, right? Like, and you could use your own issues, right? Or you could say like you can act like you're preparing for the general, which you are, right? If he makes it to the general, that is good because you've got some, air about the things you didn't like, but there's an effect, that maybe it would make the Republicans be like, oh, I used to work at the Sierra Club. Oh, the Sierra Club's doing ads against them. They must be afraid, Yeah. But Democrats have a very big map already, so they're not going to be doing that.
And what can the Arizona politicos draw from what we've seen in the Texas primary?
I mean, I'd argue almost virtually nothing other than the fact because I think Arizona Republicans are in the same spot they were a month ago or 3 months ago, which is, look, historically, it goes counter to the leadership in the White House, right? So it would tend to be a more Democratic year. However, Democrats have been a little slow on voter registration for quite some time here. So we took a 3.5% Republican gain or gap, turned it into a 7.5% gain. And did the Democrats have enough time to sort of stop the bleeding? I think in most recent reports, I would argue that the Democrats have stopped the bleeding, but now can they start picking up? So that's question number one. Question number two is, what's the enthusiasm going into the November election? I just think there's so many questions that are still out there. Look, is gas at $4 an hour $4 a gallon in November, or is it at $2 a gallon and we've got beachfront property in Iran? I can't answer those questions. Now, nobody can. But it'll make a big difference, and especially the Democrats' point on affordability. I mean, we know that they are running on affordability. What's the landscape look like going into really October, not November?
Well, from like a nuts and bolts campaign type perspective, the advice I would give out of this is advice I gave before, which is that like you need to think of Latino voters as a persuasion base, as a persuasion block, not as a base of voters. That and that you need to be communicating with them as you're communicating to the other voters that you're trying to persuade, because that's a thing that has happened sometimes where people just assume, the old Obama thing, demographics are destiny. That's not true. And, when we won in 2020 on the presidential, we treated Latino voters as like a real persuasion base. We were not, I keep saying base, but persuasion audience. That was our strategy. Our strategy was to persuade them to vote, not to only focus on like, oh, let's get people in these neighborhoods to vote because we can assume that they're going to vote Democratic. That's not the way it is with Latino voters. That's just
the table's been reset.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Arizona governor's race, where do you see this Republican primary at this point? I don't feel much momentum with Schweikert at this point. It seems like Andy Biggs has got all the momentum and getting in all the attention. Some polls, the betting markets. I don't know how much you pay attention to those. Have Biggs running away with this at this point? Any reason to think this could turn out differently?
I would argue if there is a mass sum of money that is injected into the Schweikert campaign. I mean, we're already seeing him attacking Biggs, but it's not on TV. It's not in your mailbox. It's text messages and other ways of going about that. Maybe, but I have to agree with right now where we are, the energy out there in the Republican parties for Biggs, the excitement, but there is a presumption also that it's going to be Biggs, and that's hard to come away from if people just already have this presumption that there's already somebody that's going to be a winner. And David Schweikert, it's not the kind of guy exactly that's got the charisma, the speaking, the command of the language. Let's say like Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake could get attention because of the way she communicated.
I think the Schweikert path is a different path. Is that he, as a campaign apparatus, has been very comfortable being very aggressive against his opponents. In primaries and in general election, and so that's. When I'm watching how this campaign is going, I'm wondering, like, is he really running? Because I'm surprised that there's not more money being spent on the negative side against Biggs, which is, I think, the only way he'll be able to catch up. He's not going to be able to catch up by sort of, policing, like talking about the federal deficit nonstop against Biggs. He's going to have to go after him and do ads against him, and I don't know if he will. And there's, I think a thing that I keep pushing back on people who do, what I do in the consulting space, in a primary like this, you should be spending early. There's a conventional wisdom that you wait to spend until.
Ooh, Marcus is disagreeing here.
Yeah, you got to go early.
You wait to spend until 2 weeks before the ballots drop or whatever. But especially if it's like 41% undecided or 42% undecided, 41% for. You need to start doing the hits now. Maybe a bunch of positive mail now and a couple of big hits, and they're just not doing it.
Well, you got to define the battlefield you want to fight on, right?
Yeah.
And so you do that by setting the fight. And so if you sit back and wait, and you're in the second week in October, all you're doing is responding to attacks. I mean, if you look at every recent successful campaign in Arizona, I would say in recent history, the winner ended up being the person who was out first. Like if you looked at, Mark Kelly defined himself right out of the gate before anybody else could define him.
Yeah,
Ruben,
or in a
Ruben
primary,
defined himself before anybody defined him.
I mean, in the primary between Ansari and Tehran, that was a big part of it. Is that Yasmin was doing a bunch of mail to voters, a ton, to introduce herself for a long time, and the timeline of the response wasn't as fast as I think that in retrospect they probably would have wanted it to be. And she just squeaked by. But that I think that you just have to start early.
Okay.
You have to.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about, you brought up the war in Iran. How does that play out here in Arizona? And, one of the interesting things is there's a lot of retired military members in Arizona. I don't know where they're at with stuff like this, but I am curious, there's is there a big risk reward ratio here? Or is there mostly risk with little reward with the president going to war in Iran? Politically speaking.
Politically speaking, I'd say big risk and big reward. I
Okay.
mean, if we go into September and gas prices are at $6 a gallon, and beef prices haven't come down, and the cost of living hasn't come down, then the Democrats are winning on their messaging about affordability, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the United States Navy goes into the Strait and escorts every ship out of there, and soon, Iran turns into beachfront property, and we're paying, $1 a gallon in gas, it's looking pretty good for Republicans. I just can't tell you what the world's going to look like by the time we get into October, and especially in today's day and age, where I feel like there's a surprise every 5 minutes.
Well, and there's a lot of talk about people bringing up, Trump campaigned on this, and now he's doing this. But like, you got, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony. It just seems like, it's 35% of the Republican base. They are with Trump wherever he goes. So if he's over here one day, they're with him. If he's over here on the other day, they're still with him. I don't see this as necessarily hurting him with his base folks, but it hurts him with independents.
Well, the thing I would like to dig more into is that there is this thing where Trump is Trump and everybody else is everybody else. Yeah. And so, it's hard, Kerry Lake tried to be Trump. It didn't work, right? Like it didn't work. So people could be sticking with him, but whether or not that trickles down to, these, the congressional and the Senate race, I don't know if there's like dissatisfaction, but when it comes to like reward for this, I think that he started with such a low popularity when this started that he might not be getting that benefit of the doubt from like independents who otherwise had voted for him in the last election. It might have given him a benefit of the doubt. I think this might be more buyer's remorse for them, just because it's chaos and because of the prices. But I don't think the campaign's going to be about Iran. I don't.
Unless there's boots on the ground. If there's boots on the ground, we're talking a whole different level. But to your earlier point, I mean, I think this does point out what we've always said, which is there's a difference between campaigning and policy making. And even Barack Obama found that out after he got elected. But listen, I am absolutely certain the president of the United States had no intention of going into Iran and bombing them, except for the fact that somebody called him and told him, I've got really good intelligence that says he's got a nuclear missile ready to go, and it's pointed at New York or Washington, D.C., or wherever it was.
But there's also reporting.
You're faced with real facts at some point when you're president of the United States.
There's a lot of skepticism about, weapons of mass destruction, right? Like the public.
Yeah.
That's the lead up to the Iraq War, and you've got this big generation of sort of millennials who served in those wars, and that's one of the things. Like millennials. Who is it now? Like millennials and boomers were the people who are active in sort of armed conflict when it comes to generation right now. And so I wonder sort of how they're going to react to this. And the millennial experiences, I mean, they're both, those are two generations where like the military experience was not a positive one when it, when they were out, that's the wrong way to say it, but like the war ended up becoming an unpopular war.
The other thing that has a tendency to happen is that, yes, you can be against foreign intervention. Yes, you can be against bombing, all of these things and be on that sideline. But there are people that once it starts, it is, I support America, I support our troops, and there's a rally.
And I think it's also worth pointing out that there has been a lot of questions and skepticism on the administration's rationale on why they went to war, because they have said almost, they have taken almost every position possible.
I mean, I do think that Rubio saying that they did it when they did it because Israel was about to attack, and then the president started calling TV shows, right? Like that's always a sign with Trump that he doesn't like something that somebody said. He saw that the narrative starting to spin out of the way.
Well, and then Rubio saying it's not about regime change, and then you've got Trump now this morning on Friday saying, well, we want unconditional surrender, and I want to be able to help pick the new leader. That sounds a lot like regime change.
When you have a guy who gets as much attention as the president, when he mishandles stuff, people will hear in a way that they wouldn't hear otherwise. We saw that with COVID, right? Like, his power is that he can get those microphones, he can get those cameras, he can get attention. And if he's bumbling his way through this, and Republicans are too afraid to sort of, confront him on it. But you saw them confront him on the Epstein file stuff, right? Like that was a weakness for him, and he didn't want them to take the action that a lot of them took. We'll see. Like if people start breaking away, I don't know. But I don't know. I just think that Iran is a different beast when it comes to sort of like people's fear that we may have stepped into a bigger conflict than we're ready for.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
I mean, if he announces next week we're putting boots on the ground, it's going to change the political landscape dramatically.
Yeah.
But it's also going to change dramatically if all of a sudden we're paying $1 a gallon in gas because there's more oil coming out of there than we can shake a stick at.
But the amount of time it's going to take for that to even get in the supply is high. And the bigger issue isn't even like the military escorting these ships. Like the president is trying to say the federal government will insure them, and they're just very skeptical about whether or not that's.
Well, let's end on this.
Kristi Noem.
Kristi Noem.
So you were like, we're going to end. I was like, how are we going to do this whole thing and not even talk about that whole thing?
Oh, you want to get into the Kristi Noem thing? I thought we got into quite a bit of that on the TV show.
We did. My only contention, though, is that what she just doesn't understand that this was a well-orchestrated campaign by her Republican friends. That she's the only person, and Corey Lewandowski, who didn't see it coming. But if you looked at the slow drip of water going into that hearing, which was every news article that was quietly printed in the Washington Times, New York Post, wherever it was, every blog post, every picture going into that. I mean, everybody knew she had a plane. I didn't know that they had a bedroom in it, though. That was
wild
a jaw dropper. But they knew that Corey Lewandowski lived in the same apartment complexes or right across the street, that he was over there,
and the rumor,
interestingly,
she was asked directly on Congress under oath whether she had ever had sex with Lewandowski. She did not say no.
She dodged the question. There's no doubt. Now, later, admittedly, I will say later, she said, I absolutely have not. But it doesn't matter because you weren't testifying in front of U.S. Congress,
Hey, you can lie to the press. That happens all the time.
Yeah, this is what I agree with Mark. This is a well-orchestrated committee here, specifically even the committee hearing to put the president in a position to dismiss her without it being about the immigration policy. But I do think probably the backlash and her inability to communicate in a way that helped the president about the stuff that was, the sort of tragedies in Minnesota, probably is when they decided, like, we got to get the heck out of, we got to get rid of this woman. And then, but if they dismissed her, then that'd be an admission of his policy being bad. Now it's that she was,
well, they publicly talked about it. It's because she admitted or said on the microphone under oath that President Trump fully knew about my advertising campaign.
Well, he did it because a Republican senator asked her that question on purpose to get her to say, like, anyway. So yeah.
It's also important, exactly, which goes to my point.
Pretty Machiavellian.
I think part of this is, and we talked a little bit about, consultants are nasty to one another, right? They want to know, what you're working on and how you got your money. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden there's $200 million that just popped up overnight. Like, no paperwork
who got that
trail.
Contract? That's
who got that contract?
Who got that contract?
And when it came out and when they've discovered that it was Corey Lewandowski, the guy that she's, rumored, I said rumored.
Who didn't deny under oath.
To be having an affair with, that his fellow, friends went to great lengths to make sure that was the end of him, and and clearly got her in the crossfire as well.
All right. Well, let's end on this. Tell me something positive from the world of politics.
Wow. This can be a long bit of silence.
Something positive from the world of
politics. I did not prep you guys. This is ad-libbing this question. It got pretty dark here at the end.
This is going to be like kind of this is a positive that's a negative. Is that, like, I do think from, like, one thing I'm looking forward to is there are a lot of younger Democrats that are running successfully for office when we have a lot of very old people who've been in federal office for a long time, which I think has been a challenge for the Democratic Party. So I am excited to see a lot of this crop of new people that are popping up and who have actual political talent, right? Who are able to sort of communicate with people, who understand But I guess it's not positive. That's like a consultant would say is positive.
Yeah, that's
It's not really a
I'll
positive.
give you the layup shot. We are more than halfway through 100 days of the Arizona legislative session. We have passed the halfway point.
so.
Now I know what you're going to come back with, which is Marcus. We haven't finished a session in 100 days, and I don't even remember how long.
It was Doug Ducey who did it in under 100 days one time.
Well done.
One time. And I believe it was
But
his,
it does
might have
mean
been
we'll
his-
at least get 2 and 3 week breaks until we get to the end of June, and then we actually have to do a budget.
Yeah. We'll end it there on that dark note that we couldn't come up with anything really positive.
we say like, people are working.
Way to go, guys. Way to not even try.
I got one. Democrats and Republicans are. It seems the issue of housing is not falling in partisan lines. People, there's still disagreements, but that is increasingly becoming housing costs becoming a thing where Democrats are
I'll believe it when I see it, man. Because if I hear
whether or not they can get it done is another
I'll
matter.
believe it when I see it because I have to hear about fucking casitas anymore. Like, oh, that's
He's
the
sworn twice in a row for me on the show.
It's like, oh, that's the goddamn answer. Casitas. If I have to hear that again, like, I'm not,
I'm with you. I agree.
Let's wait and see.
Get no argument out of me. Nobody's like, yippee, I can't wait to rent your 1-bedroom pool house.
Yeah,
I don't have one,
Exactly.
by the way. Maybe.
Exactly. So, on that dark note,
Thank you.
hey, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for sticking around here for doing double duty on the Politics Unplugged world. So really, thanks. Appreciate it. And next time, I'll make sure to have catered lunch in here from whatever you guys want.
Great idea.
And we will be sending a picture to somebody who frequents the show.
Oh, of course.
Always talks about it. Yeah.
Just to
Of course.
irritate him.
Of course. I'm thinking of the best roasted ducks. like whatever. I don't know.
French onion soup. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, thanks.
Thank you.
And welcome back to the Politics Unplugged podcast. Thanks for sticking with us to the second half of the show. As always, joined by Colin Stanton, the incredible producer of this show.
Happy
Colin,
to be here.
how the hell are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Pissed.
Yeah?
I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. I was traumatized. I had a really bad basketball night on Thursday.
Yeah, it wasn't a good one for you.
No. My beloved Iowa Hawkeyes lose a heartbreaker to the third-ranked Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, they came close, but
Flip over, watch the Suns. I'm thinking, we at least get to see a win. Chicago Bulls are tanking it hard.
Yeah.
And Suns didn't even try.
no. Rule number one of the NBA this season at this point is you got to beat the teams who are not trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
They failed to do that. And
Yeah.
then the evening didn't get much better.
No. No. And I thought that was a low mark for the Suns, but then we found out that Dylan the Villain, Brooks, got a DUI.
Yeah.
What are the details on that? Like, how far over was
that's
he?
That's all I've seen. All I've seen is DUI, arrested in Scottsdale at like 3 a.m. for DUI. So hopefully in his next contract, he'll get enough that he can afford Uber or Lyft
Yeah, I hope he can.
or Waymo.
I hope he can. I mean, seriously, if you're in Scottsdale, just pro tip, you've been drinking at that late at night, don't drive.
Yeah.
They're going to pull you over for any reason whatsoever.
And the number of professional athletes over time who have been busted for DUI in Scottsdale is amazing. Like, don't think you're going to necessarily get away with anything.
No.
There have been a hell of a lot of high-profile figures getting busted for DUI in Scottsdale.
No.
Don't do it. I mean, apart from the risk of arrest, don't be an asshole. Get a ride.
Don't
You can
drink and
afford it.
drive, man. Like,
Yeah.
you just don't drink and drive. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I always factor it in when I go out and I'm planning to have beers, drinks someplace where I have to drive to.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I live in a neighborhood where, if I want to go have a couple of beers at a local brewery or at the bar or something like that, there's plenty of places around me. I can just ride my bike or walk. But if I'm meeting somebody and I know I'm going to be drinking, it's factored into how much I'm thinking of spending that night.
Yeah. Should be.
And if I can't afford the Uber rides, I'm not going out. Sorry, I can't make it.
Yeah. Somehow I'm just picturing Kevin Ray and Eddie Johnson going, well, they're just targeting him because it's Dylan Johnson. Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Johnson, no way.
We got an eye out for him. That's just,
No way it was a DUI.
They know who he is, and they're targeting him.
Oh, man, Eddie Johnson would have not enjoyed the Big Ten officiating. And I'm saying this both ways, man. It was bad calls against Iowa. It was bad calls against Michigan. Big Ten, I grew up watching Big Ten basketball. I haven't watched a lot of it in the past 20 years, to be honest with you. But it has always just been historically god-awful.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, you could not do a pump fake. And as we're talking about the 80s and early 90s, you could not do a pump fake without getting called for a travel. In the Big Ten, like that, it was impossible in a Big Ten official's mind that you could pump fake without dragging your pivot foot.
Yeah. Well, Big Ten, that's doing it, playing the right way country.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, it's like where you always hear where you always hear the following phrase about describing the game, and they say this is a non-contact sport.
Yeah.
Like, oh God.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Big Ten officiating just historically god awful, historically inconsistent, unless of course it's bad things like dragging the pivot foot.
Yeah.
And man, and they always call they would always call, they were real assholes about, remember when it used to be a technical to grab the rim?
Yeah.
On a dunk?
Yeah.
Oh man. You grab. They loved calling that technical.
You have to do a gymnastics routine these days to get called for that.
Can you?
Except it's very rare. And typically, and I mean, the reason they tend to allow it now is because on a lot of these dunks where people are holding on the rim, if they let go, they're going to fall on their head.
Yeah.
It's a safety thing.
Yeah.
So it's extraordinarily rare. You really have to make a show of swinging around and gesturing. And
good God.
Yeah.
I do not miss those days of the. But anyway, I was reminded last night because I, check in and try to watch a few games when I can with my Iowa Hawkeyes. Basketball. It was my first sport love, really, was the basketball. And I was just like 30 seconds in, I was reminded, oh, yeah, Big Ten officiating sucks. Going to be like that again. Yeah. And I'm saying it was on both. I was saying both sides. I mean, there were some calls that Iowa got away with. It was like, Jesus.
Yeah. It's I don't watch college basketball anymore, so
I
missed out on this. It has to be a pretty hellaciously great year for Oregon if I'm going to be watching any sort of regular season college basketball.
Yeah. Well,
and suffice it to say, I won't have to worry about postseason college basketball this year. So,
well, now we got that out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about some of the political stuff that happened this week, and just another extraordinary week with the Secretary of Homeland Security. I know that the Big Ten, she got booted, she got canned, she got fired. Whatever you want to call it. But we also had a hell of a hearing this week.
Yeah.
Which to me was just incredible political theater.
You know that the knives were out when it's Kennedy from Louisiana who is really grilling her and going after her.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's, he's not one to go rogue on the Republican side. And it was clearly a hit. That was very, very effective.
It was incredible to, and if you're listening to this, you've probably heard it, but if not, go back and check it out. To watch Kennedy just lead her into a trap. Yeah. Because he was talking to her about the $200 million ad campaign of her, I don't know, riding a unicorn around, the Mount Rushmore or something like that. What that had to do with DHS, I don't fucking know. Yeah. But it was a $250 million ad campaign for commercials like that. And he was asking her questions until finally it's like, well, did the president know? And she's like, yeah, he knew all about it, signed off on it. And that was the political death warrant right there.
Yeah. Yes.
Because you do not cross Trump.
No.
Like that.
And I believe Trump may have said a week earlier that he knew about it. But still, you don't do that. You don't, if you're getting grilled on something and you say, well, the president was cool with it. The president's not going to be cool with that.
No. He gave, Kennedy got Trump what he wanted.
Yeah.
And Tillis, went after her too, but there was some interesting criticisms after that. I've heard is like it's one thing like they get people like Tillis or Kennedy or whatnot. They really grilled Noem, but particularly when it comes to Tillis, you still voted to nominate her.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's important is because Tillis was going after her for shooting the dog, Cricket. Cricket was the dog's name.
Yes.
And he said that was an example of really terrible decision making. But like, you knew that before before you voted to confirm her.
He acted like the book came out this week.
Yeah.
And not a long time ago.
So maybe admit that you made a mistake.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff was
hold your
available.
breath on that.
No, because all that stuff was available, and everybody's loving. People are anti-Trump folks are loving Tillis and all this for standing up. Well, he's not running again.
Yeah, which is not coincidental.
Yeah, no, and it's not incidental either.
Yeah.
So whatever. So they move Christie out. They bring in a former MMA fighter.
Yeah. I'm not sure on how high a level.
Undefeated.
I think he's 3-0 and 2 fights were against the same guy.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's more
yeah.
MMA. Look. That's more MMA fights than I've ever been in.
True.
Full disclosure, I would. I'm not sure people know that about me. That I am never engaged in an MMA fight. But in case
seems right up your alley. But no, you've resisted the call. The recruitment calls.
No, not an officially sanctioned octagon.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting call. I mean, I'm not surprised. I don't anticipate any change in what they're doing because I don't think I don't think Noem was making any calls on how to approach any of this. I don't think Mark Wayne Mullen's going to be making any calls at Stephen Miller.
Well, Mark Wayne Mullen is on record supporting the Trump's immigration policies and tactics.
Yeah.
What's new boss same as the old boss?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He's got to, because my assumption is that the Trump administration look at this as a PR problem when it's been bigger. You have 2 U.S. citizens who have been shot and killed.
Yes.
It's not a PR problem.
Yeah.
But I feel like people in that world look at this as a PR problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And at least Mark Wayne Mullen hasn't referred to either of them, as far as I know, as domestic terrorists. So he's got that going for him over Noem.
I always love it when politicians to be fair, she's not the first politician to try to use that line. Because she had said that, initially that they were looking at, I can't remember the official language, but they're looking at this as domestic terrorism. And then she tries to parse words with the congressional committees. Like, well, I didn't say he was a domestic terrorist. I said he committed an act of domestic terrorism.
Well, and she still won't back off on it, too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, whatever. She's off to go save the Western Hemisphere.
Yes. She was reassigned to, I believe, special envoy to the Shield of the Americas.
Mm.
Which, if you're of a certain generation, to me, that just sounds like the Hall of Justice. She's working with Big Chief and Aquaman and the Wonder Twins now.
Dude, when you brought that reference out the other day, man, I about lost. I'm like, Big Chief, holy crap! I haven't thought of Big Chief in years.
Yeah, so that's got to be exciting to be a special envoy to the Shield of the Americas, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah, a special envoy to a group that doesn't exist.
Yeah, she can take on the Legion of Doom now.
A special envoy to nothing.
I'm picturing, the Ted Knight voice.
I can't wait to.
Unbeknownst to Aquaman, Kristi Noem was already at the scene. She's flying in on Wonder Woman's invisible plane to help special envoy whatever's going on there.
Invisible jet.
Yeah. Well, part of that jet better not be invisible.
I was gonna say.
She's already got her own jet. That,
I was gonna say, because if I remember my Wonder Woman cartoons right, the jet was invisible, but Wonder Woman was not.
Right, the contents were visible.
Yeah.
So yeah. By the way, how did Kristi Noem's love jet not get more attention at the hearing? It got a little bit, but the flying bedroom with, I believe, 2 bidets on it for those keeping track.
The bedroom Olay or whatever the hell that was up there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they should. You know, it would have been fun if, like, under oath, like, ask her, "Are you a member of the Mile High Club?"
And then if they tried to sell the jet that has the the leather couches and the bedroom and the bidets and all that, they tried to claim that they needed that to fly deportation flights.
Well,
like which of the guys you're deporting, which ones get the bed, and which ones have to go sit on the leather couch?
And it's always amazes me, like, the brazenness of it all.
Yeah.
That folks think they can get away with this, like the creation of a shell corporation that gets handed a massive government contract and then subcontracts with somebody that is very close to how do you really think that you're going to get away with that?
I mean, she would have if she didn't blame it on Trump.
Maybe. Or cut him in on the action or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, what have I heard? Like, you know, Trump doesn't like it when he's not part of the grift. No, it's cynical. It's cynical.
Yeah.
But I've heard people say that.
But I mean, no one, and she would have been fine if she hadn't just blamed it on Trump.
Yeah. Just don't blame it. Just don't blame anything on Trump, because then Trump is perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what they think of him. Go check out the memes.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Tell me something positive.
Well, we can talk sports. We can talk Kyler.
Is Kyler positive?
See, I wanted to get into Kyler on this because I found it fascinating over the last few days listening to national media in the national football media discussing the Kyler situation and what a great get he's going to be for someone and how he is the prize of the free agent collective. He's not really going to be, he will be a free agent at some point. And how good he is. And at one point, Bomani Jones, who I'm a big fan of, was talking about how he's better than so many starting quarterbacks in the league. And he and his producer went through a list and said, all right, who would you rather have? And they were like, Brock Purdy or Kyler. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts or Kyler? Oh, Kyler. And I think it just served as a reminder that the national media has never watched a Cardinal game.
Pay no attention.
I don't think there's anyone who has had to watch the Cardinals over the last few years who would not rather watch Jacoby Brissett under center than Kyler Murray at this stage.
Yeah.
And I don't think Jacoby Brissett won a game last year, did he? I think all three of
He
them
won one.
Did he? Okay.
Was it Dallas?
I'm not sure.
He won one game.
But
the offense looks so much better.
Yes.
With him running it.
Yes.
And like, you know me, I was a big Kyler fan. I was one of the last guys off the bandwagon.
Yeah.
It was like me and his family.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, he can play. He's not the guy you think he is. If you're just watching highlights, he is amazing.
Yeah, if you're watching SportsCenter, he looks great.
Yeah.
And his numbers end up being okay. But I like watching Jacoby Brissett hit the 15-yard pass.
Yeah.
That is going to bounce at their feet.
Yeah.
It's Kyler. And I mean, you're all in on the Cardinals. You're a big Cardinals fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I don't care. I
You
live here, so I see them all the time.
You were highly amused when
I have no emotional attachment, but it's just been funny to me to see the hand wringing over Kyler, and he's not a good quarterback.
I mean,
he's
look,
very physically skilled.
I mean, he missed
quarterback.
he missed most of the season on a mysterious foot injury that occurred when he got doinked in the head with a football.
Yeah, and he seemed to be close to returning for about the last 10 weeks, which was probably a sign that they were not in the greatest hurry to ever see him play in a Cardinal jersey again.
I know. I mean, it's going to be. I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, I hope he succeeds.
Sure.
You know, I past that part of my life where I was like, man, I really want him to fail. I don't want people to fail. I don't, but can you imagine if he does ball out like he ends up in Minnesota, which he is going to be an improvement over McCarthy.
McCarthy's terrible.
He's a
McCarthy's
terrible,
absolutely terrifying,
and they
in over his head.
Still won 7 games last year.
Yes.
So he is an improvement over that. Let's say he goes and they start hot. In let's say there's like 4-0, 5-0, 4-1, whatever start.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals are 0-4.
Yeah. I don't know that you're going to hear clamoring from people who want Kyler back.
No, not here.
Yeah, but nationally there will probably be a lot of
nationally
look at them.
Because the fan base is just, they're so over it.
Yes. He's infuriating to watch, and it's also tough for fans to watch a guy who never, ever gives any sort of outward sign that he gives a shit.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. You never get the sense that Kyler cares.
And Phoenix sports fans dealt with 2-3 years of that with the Durant Phoenix Suns teams.
Yeah.
And did not enjoy that.
No.
And but the infuriating part about Kyler is he one time had a perfect rated game against the Rams.
Yeah.
I mean, he's capable of that.
He's capable of it.
And then can just eat shit for like three weeks in a row. It's just like,
yeah,
it's like ceiling or floor with that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, he'll be a very good pick. I'm assuming he probably goes to the Vikings, where he's a very good pickup. He's a veteran guy who has the physical tools, despite being, a wee man, which at quarterback is a problem. I don't think you can be an effective quarterback at his height. But he can be light years better than J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
And they only have to pay him like $1.3 million because the Cardinals have to eat the rest of his salary.
Well, I slightly disagree with you. I think you can be an effective quarterback at his height, but you got to be fearless in a way that Kyler Murray is not. And one of the things, there was a guy on the radio, Dan Bickley, really, read his columns for years and whatnot. He said this thing is like, people don't understand how scared Murray has become at playing the position. He doesn't step in the pocket. I mean, look at it. And I agree with that. I'm not saying he would be a great quarterback at that height, but like, to give yourself a shot at being a great quarterback at whatever his real height is, you've got to play with a fearlessness, I would think, where you can step up in the pocket and throw the football. And that's why I think the people, like the players on the Cardinal team, love Brissett, because they know that they're going out and running their routes or doing their blocking patterns. They know their quarterback is where he's supposed to be.
Yeah. He's not scampering around 15 yards
or falling down.
Yes.
I mean, how many sacks did Kyler just give up?
Turtling up.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, that was really concerning last year.
I will again say, at his size, I don't think we have a historic precedent for a quarterback being any good at his height.
No, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm slightly disagreeing with you, but I think you could. But you have to be you have to be fearless in the pocket. You have to step up. You got to be able to step up and throw that ball and take the hit. Yeah.
Not something he's shown.
No, and it's gotten worse over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember him turtling up the way he did the last year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, it got so bad. Like, you'd see the pocket start just closing in on him. He would just fall to the ground. Like, that's not football, man.
Yeah. I saw the A's are open to the idea of him coming back. I don't really see that happening.
That's not going to happen. One of the problems with baseball is, and why the draft is not a big deal, is these guys don't come straight to the league.
Yeah.
You got to go, somebody in AAA is, if you ever met them, is probably the most amazing baseball player you might ever know in your life or meet in your life. And they're still not good enough for the major leagues.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see Kyler schlepping around AA.
No, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Send him
Staying
off
at a Motel 6 in Shreveport.
Yeah. Hey. Hopefully I get moved up to Reno.
So I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do at quarterback this year. My guess is it's Brissett, and
I hope they don't go with Malik Willis. It seemed like it was a little bit hot.
It's a risk.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Malik Willis could be a very good quarterback for someone. I'm not sure this is necessarily the place where he's going to make that leap. History would suggest that that's probably not how that works. You get him in a good situation. If he ends up in like Pittsburgh, it sounds like Pittsburgh's going to bring Aaron Rodgers back again, which, for the love of God, I don't understand.
Make it stop.
But if Malik Willis ends up a place like that, he might be fine.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is the place for him. But
I don't know if this is a place for anybody.
it's really, Kurt Warner made it work. Carson Palmer was...
Well, Kurt Warner was when he broke down some video of Malik Willis, and he said, when you take away all the dinks and dunks, small little throws and things like that, Malik Willis has about 28 actual real NFL throws to grade him on.
It's not great.
So you're gonna pay a guy like that $30 million?
Yeah, no, it's a huge risk. Huge risk when you're already paying Kyler. Yeah. Geno Smith's available.
To quote the great Homer Simpson when he was talking to the Cardinals, keep walking.
He was good in Seattle. Last year with the Raiders was wretched.
It's amazing how quarterbacks like that are good with good teams.
Yeah.
And good coaches.
Yeah.
It's something I wish the Bidwells would figure out.
You would wonder which one you're getting, Geno from the Seahawks or Geno from the Raiders. And I would say at this point, the Cardinals are probably a bit more comparable to the Raiders than they are to the Seahawks.
It's just, the thing that bums me out about it is like I really do enjoy football. And it's just like, there's nothing to look forward to this year, right? In college football, you're more of a college fan. Like you're looking forward to what the Ducks can do this year. I'm looking forward to what the Iowa Hawkeyes football team can do this year. Maybe their offense continues to improve. Blah 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 blah. With the Cardinals, face fact, they're just going to suck again.
It's going to be a rough year. Yeah, there's no reason to think this is going to be a good year for them.
And it's just going to suck again.
Yeah.
And and you're going to try to sucker me into being hopeful again and buy tickets. Like again, man, I'm not just too much of a history with this franchise with the owners there. I mean, there's no reason to believe they're going to be any better. You got to play three of the best teams in the NFL 6 times.
Yeah, they're in a terrible spot there.
I mean, if you're in the NFC South, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough road for improvement.
Yeah.
In that division right now.
Yeah. Anything else, man?
No, I think we covered it.
Can you leave me with something positive? I'm looking for some positivity, dude.
It's been a tough week for that, man.
It's been a tough week.
Yeah, no, I'll see if I can come up with something, but it's the weekend. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, man. You got any plans?
I don't think so. Got a quiet one, you?
Me too, man. It's the best weekend.
Yeah. All right.
It's the best weekend.
Enjoy
All right,
it.
guys. See you next week.
See you later.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.